Last tutorial we studied about the custom form validation annotations and how we can use multiple annotations on a single member variable of a bean class. And I also told you about the name validator class, that is a class which has the logic for the custom annotation which we have defined. Here we discussed about the isValid method, which is always called whenever we are writing a custom annotation at the top of any member variable. But we have another method also, that is called initialize method. When does it comes into picture? Let's see. What I'll tell you what actually happened. Whenever you make a call from this student bean class, you have written @valid name. It goes to this annotation. It comes over here and check that name validator class has the logic for this annotation, so it goes over there. Now the name validator will make a call to isValid method, but before making a call to isValid method, it makes a call to initialize method. So if you want to perform any function before making a call to isValid method or the logic part, you can write that implementation in the initialize method. So what we can do is, like here we are giving these names as default, we are hard coding these values. So what we can achieve is that the user can enter that he or she wants this particular names to be considered as valid, rather than hard coding it in my logic and then consider those names in this method. So what we'll do is, so this can be achieved using the initialize method. Now this is my annotation. This annotation is not accepting any arguments. Like the size annotation we checked, it's accepting the argument, but the valid name annotation has not accepted any argument so far. So we can give arguments to it, which will be the names which we want to be considered as valid. So for that, in the valid, in this annotation, I just need to write string valid names these are the valid names which we want to be considered. This will have an argument, but we can also have, okay, we have also one more property over here, that is default. This default property will be the, which we have written it over in the name validator. Okay, so let's consider this. Then in case the list is not being provided by the user, then consider this once. This just default means. Okay, so now this annotation is accepting an valid, accepting an argument, and that argument can have the values, and in case we are not providing any value to those arguments, then consider these ones as the default for the, that is the arguments. Okay, so now we go to the student. First change is over here. Second change, we need to make it in the logic part, obviously. Now we don't want to hard code the values. We want that the whichever, okay, let me just write me over here. Okay, so we can give this one. It's perfectly fine if we are defining it over here. Okay, so we just need to give the name, and that will be the same name as it. Okay, so this is my valid name annotation, which is accepting the argument Ashish, Raj or Sunny. So this is what user has entered, and these should be considered as the default ones. And in case I don't provide this value, then consider this one as the the valid names हमारे पास. Now in the name validator class I have initialize method and I have the valid name also. So we got that list from the user, so it has the provision to take that list from the annotation, that is this list, and provide this same list to the my is valid function for the this for the implementation part, for the logic part. So we'll not hard code it this time over here. What I will do is, let's create a variable. Okay, so let's create a variable with the name string list of names. Then inside this we'll have this dot list of names is equal to, you can just write the annotation name, any variable. Okay, so valid names dot value. So now we are saying that, and here we need to give this list of names. Okay, so now what we are doing is we are just fetching the list of names from the valid name annotation. So this is my valid name annotation, and valid name annotation is having a value as its arguments. So that is we are fetching it in the name validator. You can write it as value also. Valid names, I have given it as a name. So this is same as value, and then assigning these values to my member variable list of names, and then this list is being given to my is valid function for validation. So which list it will consider now? If we have given the values in my annotation, Ashish, Raj and Sunny will be considered as a valid name, and in case I don't provide this, then it will consider the default one, that is Ravi, Amit and Ajay. So these are the modifications you need to make if you want to give an arguments to your custom annotation. Let's see working of it. We need to restart the server. Okay, so I'll just first give the invalid values. What are the valids? Ashish, Raj and Sunny. Okay, let me give that default one. Say I'll give AS DF. We need to give this value also. Okay, let's submit the form. No, it's saying please enter the correct name because it's not considering that. So I'll give now correct value now. Ashish, that is the one which is present in my list. So let me enter this and see if it accepts. Yes, you have submitted this details successfully. So now it's considering this arguments as the valid one. Okay, now let's see the another way, that if we are not giving this value, then whether it considers the default ones or not. So now we haven't provided any arguments, so it will go to this annotation and take this default one and give it to my name validator, which is this. It should have an argument, because even if I don't define default, it will show me a compilation error that argument is being accepted and it's not being provided. Please enter the correct name. So what I can give is now Ravi. It will accept those values. So I'm just, you have successfully submitted the details. So now it has considered the default arguments as the valid names. So clear with the custom form validation annotation along with arguments. Okay, so in the next tutorial we'll